I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd sit in his wife's car on a Saturday morning, holding a packet of birth control pills with trembling hands, trying to understand how my entire life had become a lie. But there I was, March 22nd, 2022, 11:47 a.m., staring at evidence that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Let me back up. My name is Wesley Kohler. I'm 33 years old, a civil engineer specializing in bridge design for the State Transportation Department in Richmond, Virginia. I've always been the practical type, the youngest of four kids, grew up watching my siblings navigate life's chaos, learned early to think things through, plan ahead, build solid foundations. That's probably why I went into engineering. There's something comforting about bridges. You do the math right, use quality materials, follow the blueprints, and they stand for generations. I thought marriage worked the same way. I met Paige 7 years ago through a hiking club. She was 24 then, with this infectious laugh that echoed across the trail. I was 26, freshly licensed as a PE, working 80-hour weeks but desperate for something outside the office. We bonded over terrible trail mix and shared water bottles on a particularly brutal climb up Old Rag Mountain. She was marketing consultant, worked from home, had this creative energy that balanced my structural thinking. We fit. 2 years of dating, then I proposed at the same summit where we'd met. She cried, happy tears I thought, and said yes. We got married in a small ceremony with family and close friends. Year 1 was adjustment, like everyone said it would be. Year 2, we started talking about kids. I'd always wanted to be a father. Growing up in a house with 3 older siblings meant I understood family chaos, the noise, the mess, the love that fills spaces between people. I coached youth soccer on weekends, watched my nieces and nephews grow, felt that pull toward parenthood getting stronger every year. When I mentioned it to Paige, she smiled and agreed. Let's start trying, she said. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of hope and heartbreak. 3 years of tracking ovulation, timed intimacy, negative pregnancy tests, and Paige's tears. 3 years of what I thought was us fighting together against infertility. Except we weren't fighting together. She was fighting me. The first 6 months of trying were optimistic. Normal even. These things take time, everyone said. Don't stress about it. Just relax and let it happen. Month 7 through 12, concerns started creeping in. Paige suggested giving it more time. I researched fertility basics, bought ovulation predictor kits, tried to stay positive. Month 13, I suggested we both get tested, just to rule out any issues. Paige hesitated but agreed. She scheduled an appointment with her OB/GYN, came home with reports of blood work, hormone panels, ultrasounds, or so she claimed. I never actually saw the results. She'd mentioned them vaguely, say everything looked mostly normal, but nothing concrete. Month 18, she came home crying. I found her on our bed, face in her hands, shoulders shaking. My heart dropped. I sat beside her, held her, asked what was wrong. The doctor called, she said between sobs. The test results. I have diminished ovarian reserve and severe endometriosis. My chances of getting pregnant naturally are less than 5%. I felt like someone had punched through my chest and grabbed my heart. 5%. I held her tighter, told her we'd figure it out, that we'd try treatments, do whatever it took. She nodded against my shoulder, and I felt her tears soak through my shirt. Over the next 18 months, she claimed to pursue treatments, acupuncture appointments, supplements, dietary changes, She'd come home from doctor visits and report minimal progress. I researched endometriosis until I could recite symptoms and treatment options. I joined online forums for men dealing with infertility, found some comfort in shared stories of loss and persistence. I suggested adoption. 4 separate times over 6 months. The first time was after my sister announced her third pregnancy at a family dinner. Paige and I drove home in silence, tension thick in the car. Finally, I spoke. Maybe we should consider adoption or fostering. Her reaction was immediate. That's not the same thing. But we'd still be parents, I said, keeping my voice gentle. Isn't that what matters? I'm not giving up on having our own baby. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. The doctor said your chances are less than 5%. Miracles happen, Wesley. I'm not ready to give up. I backed down. I always backed down. She'd cry, accuse me of not understanding what she was going through physically, and I'd feel guilty for pushing. The pattern repeated itself 3 more times. Each conversation ended the same way. Her in tears, me apologizing, both of us stuck in limbo. She'd suggest IVF instead. I'd remind her our insurance didn't cover it, that we were looking at $15,000 to $20,000 per cycle. We had savings, about $34,000 in our emergency fund, but draining it for treatments with no guarantee felt reckless. Just give me 6 more months, she'd plead. If nothing happens, we'll talk about other options. I always gave in, chose peace over my own needs, felt manipulated but couldn't articulate why. Our intimate life became clinical. Paige would text me during the workday, "Positive OPK today. Tonight's the night." I'd respond with enthusiasm I no longer felt. The spontaneity, the joy, the connection, all gone. Replaced by scheduled encounters that felt like medical procedures. Every month, she'd report possible pregnancy symptoms. Fatigue, nausea, breast tenderness. Every month, my hope would build despite myself. Every month, the test would be negative. Every month, she'd cry, and I'd comfort her, and the cycle would repeat. I became an expert on infertility. Knew more about follicular phases and luteal phases than any man should. Understood the difference between Clomid and letrozole, could explain the mechanics of IVF to anyone who asked. It consumed me. Paige refused couples counseling, refused support groups, said she wanted to handle it privately, that sharing our struggle with strangers felt invasive. I respected that boundary, even though I desperately wanted professional help navigating the grief. We had a spare bedroom that Paige wouldn't let me use as a home office. "It's for the baby," she'd say. So it sat there, empty, waiting. Our entire life felt paused. We couldn't make long-term plans. Everything was contingent on when we have the baby. I'd come home and find her watching pregnancy announcement videos on YouTube, crying. When I'd express concern about this obsession, she'd snap at me. "You don't understand what it's like to feel broken." And I'd feel guilty. Resentful, but guilty. Like I had no right to my own grief because I wasn't the one with the medical issues. That brings me to that Saturday morning, March 22nd. I'd decided to deep clean both cars, my truck and Paige's Honda CR-V. It was an annual ritual, detail the vehicles, check fluids, rotate emergency supplies. Paige had book club from 10 to 2, so I had time. I started with my truck, then moved to her car around 11:30. Vacuumed the floors, wiped the dashboard, cleaned the cup holders. Opened the glove box to check that the registration and insurance cards were current, organized the usual mess. Inside, registration, insurance papers, car manual, napkins, hand sanitizer, sunglasses. Standard stuff. But wedged behind the manual was a small paper pharmacy bag. I pulled it out. CVS pharmacy label. Prescription for Paige Kohler. The medication name? Yaz. Drospirenone, ethinyl estradiol. Take 1 tablet daily. I stared at the words, not understanding. Then I looked at the date the prescription was filled. March 8th. 2 weeks ago. Refills. 11 remaining. My hands started shaking. I opened the bag. Inside was the circular pill dispenser, the kind that tracks daily doses. I counted the missing pills. 14 gone from the 28-day pack. She'd been taking them daily since March 8th. The label on the bottle was clear. Unmistakable. Birth control pills. Prevent pregnancy. I sat in the driver's seat, unable to move. My vision narrowed. My breathing went shallow. I tried to process what I was holding, but my brain couldn't make it make sense. How long? How long had she been on birth control? I checked the bag again. Found a stapled receipt showing this was a refill. Last filled, February 8th, 2022. At least 2 months, probably longer. The questions came flooding in, each one hitting like a physical blow. Were the fertility tests even real? The endometriosis diagnosis? The doctor appointments? Had she been lying the entire time? Why let me believe we were trying? I got out of the car, walked to the backyard, sat on the deck, stared at the pills in my hand. The timeline math was simple. Prescription filled March 8th. Today was March 22nd. 14 days. She'd been taking them consistently, hiding them in her car where I'd never think to look. I tried to find an innocent explanation. Maybe they were old, from before we started trying? No, filled 2 weeks ago. Maybe her doctor prescribed them for endometriosis? Possible, but why hide them in the car? Why not keep them in our medicine cabinet with her other prescriptions? Maybe she forgot she had them? No, 14 pills gone, 1 each day. Then I started remembering odd things. Paige's period was supposedly irregular from the endometriosis, but she always knew exactly when it was coming. She'd never actually shown me test results from doctors. She was always vague about appointment details. She refused when I offered to come to her OB/GYN appointments. "They're invasive," she'd said. "I'd rather go alone." I went back inside, checked our bathroom medicine cabinet. Her usual items were there: multivitamin, ibuprofen, allergy medication, face creams. But no birth control. Never had been. She'd been hiding it in her car this whole time. The deliberateness of it hit me. This wasn't accidental. This was intentional concealment. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through our text message history. Dozens of messages about ovulation timing over 3 years. Peak fertility today. Let's make a baby tonight. Feeling hopeful this month. She'd been tracking her cycle, sending me updates, building my hope every month, while actively preventing pregnancy. While knowing it was impossible, the cruelty of it was staggering. Letting me hope, letting me comfort her when tests were negative. All while she knew exactly why they were negative. My hands clenched, my jaw tightened. Rage built in my chest like pressure behind a dam. But I forced myself to stay calm. Think clearly. Plan. I wouldn't confront her emotionally. Wouldn't give her time to construct a lie. I'd wait, present the evidence, watch her try to explain. I checked the time. 12:34 p.m. Book club ended at 2. She'd be home by 2:15. I sat at the kitchen table, pills in front of me, and waited. Those 90 minutes felt like 90 hours. At 2:17 p.m., I heard her car pull into the driveway. The front door opened. She walked in carrying her book club tote bag, smiling. "Hey, babe, how's the car cleaning going? Want me to make us lunch?" She was cheerful, relaxed, had no idea what was coming. I stayed seated at the kitchen table, hands folded, pills directly in front of me. It took her a few seconds to notice. She was putting away her bag, chatting about something one of her book club friends had said when her eyes landed on the pill pack. She froze. Mid-motion. All color drained from her face. Recognition was immediate, followed by panic. "I thought you were infertile," I said. My voice was calm, controlled, deadly quiet. Her mouth opened, closed. No sound. "I thought we'd been trying for 3 years," I continued. "I thought you wanted a baby." She took a step toward the table. "Wesley, I can explain." I held up the pill pack. "Why are you on birth control?" Silence. 5 seconds that felt like minutes. They're for my endometriosis," she stammered. "The doctor prescribed them to manage the pain." I pulled out my phone, opened Google, read aloud from the search results. Yaz, oral contraceptive used to prevent pregnancy, may also be used to treat acne and PMDD. "Yes, exactly," she said quickly. "PMDD. I have severe—" "You told me you had endometriosis," I interrupted. "Now it's PMDD? Which lie am I supposed to believe?" I set my phone down, keeping my eyes on her. "This prescription was filled March 8th. You've taken 14 pills, one every day. That's not symptom management, that's daily contraception." Her tears started. "Please, just let me explain." "I'm listening." I leaned back in my chair. "Explain. 3 years. Explain 3 years." She sat down across from me, face in her hands, sobbing. I didn't move, didn't comfort her, just waited. Through her tears, she finally spoke. "I didn't know how to tell you." "Tell me what?" I, I don't want children. I never did." The words hit me like a truck. I physically recoiled, leaning back in my chair. "What?" "When we got married, I thought I did," she said, words tumbling out. "I thought I was supposed to. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I can't do it." I stared at her. "So you've been lying to me for 3 years? Pretending to try? Letting me think I might be a father?" "I kept hoping I'd change my mind." Her voice was desperate. "I thought if I gave it time, the maternal instinct would kick in." "By taking birth control?" My voice rose. "That's not giving it time, that's actively preventing it." I panicked. "You wanted it so badly, and I didn't know how to tell you I didn't." The questions I'd been holding back came flooding out. "Were you ever tested for infertility?" Long pause. "No." "The endometriosis diagnosis?" Whisper. "I made it up." "The doctor appointments?" "I went to the gynecologist for the pill prescription, that's all." "The diminished ovarian reserve?" I read about it online. It sounded believable." I stood up, started pacing. "You've been acting for 3 years, crying over negative pregnancy tests you knew would be negative. I thought if I acted like I wanted it, eventually I would want it for real." My rage finally broke through. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me? I've spent 3 years mourning children that you were making sure never existed." "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. Why not just tell me?" I demanded. "Why the elaborate lie?" She looked away, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Paige, what else?" 30 seconds of silence. "What else?" I repeated, my voice harder. "I'm planning to leave," she whispered. The air left the room. I stared at her, unable to process. "What?" "Not right now, but eventually. I've been thinking about it for over a year." "You've been planning to leave me for a year," I said slowly. "And you let me think we were building a family?" "I didn't want to leave you with a child." The words burst out of her. "I didn't want to be tied to you forever through a kid." The cruelty of it crystallized. She'd prevented pregnancy specifically to make leaving easier. Why not just leave now? I asked. Why stay? I'm not ready. Financially, emotionally, I need more time. Understanding washed over me. You're using me for stability while planning your exit. I kept thinking maybe things would get better between us. Things won't get better when you're actively sabotaging us. You made sure we couldn't have the one thing I wanted most. Because I knew if we had a baby, I'd be trapped. I'd never be able to leave. There it was. The selfish core of everything. She'd chosen her potential future freedom over my present happiness. You're not the person I married, I said quietly. I don't even know who you are. Wesley, please. She reached across the table. I know this is awful, but maybe we can work through this. I laughed. It came out bitter, hollow. Work through this? You've been lying to me about wanting children while planning to leave me. What exactly is there to work through? We can go to counseling. I'll explain everything. No. The finality in my voice surprised even me. We're done. This marriage is over. Her face showed shock. You're not even going to try? Just like that? Just like that? I repeated incredulously. 3 years, Paige. You've been lying to me for 3 years. You don't get to act like this is sudden. I stood up, started pacing. My mind shifted into practical mode. I want you out of this house. This is my house too. You can't just kick me out. Then I'll leave. I'll go stay with my brother. But I can't be here with you. Wesley, wait. Can we just talk about this more? There's nothing more to talk about. I pulled out my phone. You've been planning your exit. Consider this your notice. I'm exiting first. She started asking about bills, the mortgage, shared accounts, logistics, as if that mattered right now. We'll figure it out through lawyers, I said. I'm not discussing anything with you right now. Her demeanor changed. Anger flashed across her face. You're being unreasonable. I said I was sorry. Something in me snapped. Sorry. You're sorry. You stole 3 years from me. You let me grieve non-existent miscarriages. You fake cried with me over negative tests you caused. She physically flinched from my anger. I forced myself to calm down. I need to pack. I need you to leave me alone. I'm not leaving this room until we talk. I started recording on my phone. Then I'm documenting everything. You've lied about enough. I want proof of what you're saying. That got her to retreat. Fine. I'll give you space. She went to our bedroom, slammed the door. I called my older brother immediately. My hands were still shaking. I need to stay with you for a while, I said when he answered. I'll explain when I get there. Of course. Come now. You okay? No, but I will be. I pulled my gym duffel from the closet and started packing. A week's worth of clothes, toiletries, phone chargers, laptop, work documents, the essentials. Paige was on the bed watching me, red-eyed. She kept trying to engage. Where are you going? When will you be back? Can we please talk? I didn't answer. Didn't look at her. Just packed methodically, mechanically. On the nightstand was our wedding photo. 5 years ago, both of us smiling, full of hope for the future. I looked at it and felt nothing. That person, the one I'd married, didn't exist anymore, if she ever had. I love you, Paige said suddenly. I know you don't believe me, but I do love you. Those were the first words I'd acknowledged since entering the bedroom. No, you don't. You loved the security I gave you. There's a difference. Fresh sobs. That's not fair. Fair. I zipped up the duffel. You want to talk about fair? I wanted to adopt. You said no, because you didn't want my children in any form. That's the truth, isn't it? Her silence was answer enough. You weren't just preventing pregnancy, I said quietly. You were preventing me from being a father at all, even through adoption. She'd blocked every path to parenthood because she wanted a clean escape. One more question nagged at me. Is there someone else? No. God, no, there's no one else. I wondered if that was another lie, but decided it didn't matter. I picked up my bag. I'll text you about next steps. Don't call me unless it's an absolute emergency. When will you be ready to talk? I looked at her one last time. I don't know if I'll ever be ready to talk to you again. I walked through our house, each room holding memories that now felt false. Discussions about baby names in the kitchen, nursery plans sketched out in the spare bedroom. All lies. Paige followed me to the living room, keeping her distance. At the front door, she made one last attempt. Wesley, please, don't leave like this. Sleep on it. We can talk tomorrow. I turned to face her directly. You've been planning to leave me for over a year. You just weren't brave enough to do it. So I'm doing it for you. You're welcome. She sank to the floor in the entryway, sobbing. I walked out into the afternoon sunlight, got in my truck, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw her in the doorway of our house, crying. I felt nothing. Just numbness and the weight of 3 years of stolen time. My brother lived 25 minutes away in Glen Allen. The drive felt both endless and too short. I needed the space to think, but dreaded having to explain everything out loud. He opened the door before I could knock. The concern on his face was immediate. Upstairs, he said, taking my bag. Guest room. Stay as long as you need. His wife was waiting in the kitchen. She'd already made tea, sat me down at the table. Their 2 daughters, 8 and 5, were kept busy in the playroom. What happened? She asked gently. It took me 20 minutes to tell the whole story. The pills, the lies, the fake infertility, the planned departure, all of it. When I finished, my brother sat in silent rage, fists clenched. His wife had her hand over her mouth, tears in her eyes. Wesley, she finally said, I am so sorry. That's unforgivable. Did you know? My brother asked. Did you have any idea? I thought about it. Really thought. There were signs. I explained them away, believed her excuses. The signs I'd missed played through my mind like a terrible highlight reel. How she never wanted to talk specifics about doctor appointments. How she refused couples counseling. How vague she was about test results. How she resisted adoption so adamantly. How she never wanted me to come to OB/GYN appointments. She isolated you, my brother observed. Made it so you couldn't verify anything. He was right. The manipulation had been systematic, planned. The emotion finally started hitting me. Not anger yet, just profound sadness. 3 years of my life, 3 years of hope, completely wasted. We'll help you through this, my brother promised. You're not alone. That night, my phone exploded. 23 calls from Paige, 47 text messages. The texts followed a predictable pattern. Please come home so we can talk. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. You're throwing away 7 years together. I made a mistake, but that doesn't erase everything good. You're being cruel by not responding. Fine, ignore me then. I kept my phone on silent. Didn't respond to a single message. At 6 p.m., I called my parents. I needed to tell them before Paige did. My mother answered. My father picked up the extension. Their reaction was exactly what I expected. Shock. Disbelief. Then protective anger. How long has this been going on? My mother asked. 3 years of active lying, maybe longer. My father, former military, measured man, rarely showed strong emotion, was livid. I could hear it in his tight, controlled voice. Whatever you need, my mother said. You can stay with us too if you need to. I'm okay staying here. I just needed you to know. Have you eaten? Are you sleeping? Even at 33, she worried. I can't think about food. I'm just trying to process. They didn't push, just offered love and support. By 8 p.m., all my siblings knew. The family network activated immediately. My oldest sister, a paralegal, texted offering legal help. My other sister called crying, angry on my behalf. The solidarity was overwhelming. Family circling the wagons, protecting me. No one in my family would speak to Paige. She was cut off completely. That night, I lay in my brother's guest room, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. My mind kept analyzing the timeline. When had the lies actually started? Year 1 of marriage, she'd probably been genuine about wanting kids. Year 2, when we started trying, had she been lying from day 1? Years 3 and 4, definitely lying, actively taking birth control. Year 5, planning to leave while pretending to build a family. All those fake moments flooded back with new context. Her crying over negative pregnancy tests, pure performance. Her excitement when she was ovulating, just scheduling intimacy for cover. Her research about baby names, building the lie. Her refusal to adopt, couldn't fake a pregnancy to explain a sudden child. The financial abuse hit me too. She'd used my income for stability while secretly saving for her exit. The emotional abuse. She'd weaponized my deepest desire against me. The time theft. I was 33, had spent my early 30s on this lie, and I couldn't get those years back. What if I'd found the pills 6 months ago? A year ago? Would she have kept lying indefinitely? Another thought struck me, making me physically sick. If she'd gotten genuinely pregnant by accident, if the birth control had failed, what would she have done? She would have terminated without telling me. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. Around 2:30 a.m., there was a soft knock on my door. My sister-in-law couldn't sleep either, had heard me moving around. She brought warm milk. You don't have to talk, she said kindly. Just wanted you to know someone cares. It was the first genuinely positive feeling I'd had since finding the pills. Gratitude. Sunday morning, I gave up on sleep at 6:15, went for a run. 5 miles in the cold March air. I needed physical exhaustion. The movement brought clarity, decision-making ability. My plan. 1. File for divorce immediately. Document everything. Move money from joint accounts. 4. Change passwords on everything. Consult attorney Monday morning. When I got back at 7:30, my brother was making coffee. The kids were still asleep. I laid out my plan. He nodded at each point. Move the money today, he advised, before she thinks of it. Our joint accounts held $8,400 in checking, $3,600 in savings. Virginia was an equitable distribution state, but I could protect my half now. I opened my phone, logged into the bank, and transferred half of each account to a new personal account at a different bank. I didn't take everything, just protected what was mine. I screenshot everything, emailed the documentation to myself. Then I started changing passwords, bank accounts, email, streaming services, utilities that were in my name, insurance policies. While going through the joint Amazon account, I found a recent order that made my blood run cold. Book title: How to Leave Your Marriage Without Guilt. Order date: January 12th, 2022. 2 months ago. I screenshot that too. Added it to my evidence folder. This wasn't a recent decision. This was premeditated, long planned. My resolve hardened completely. Monday morning, I took a personal day from work. My sister had recommended a divorce attorney, Diana Hartwell, downtown Richmond office. I showed up at 9 a.m. with everything printed. Timeline. Bank statements. Photos of the birth control pills with the label clearly showing Paige's name, the date filled, the refill count. Screenshots of the Amazon book order. The text message thread about ovulation tracking. Diana reviewed everything methodically, asked clarifying questions. "This is fraud," she said finally. "Reproductive coercion, actually." Reproductive coercion. When one partner sabotages family planning without the other's knowledge. It's recognized in some states as a form of abuse. I'd never thought of it that way. Abuse. But that's what it was. Virginia doesn't have specific laws about it, Diana continued, but this establishes a clear pattern of deception. She explained the divorce process. Virginia required a 6-month separation before no-fault divorce, but we could file fault based on grounds of cruelty. Her systematic deception qualified. Fault-based means no waiting period, she said. We file, she responds, we negotiate or go to trial. Still takes 4 to 6 months minimum due to court scheduling, but faster than no fault. Fault-based, I said immediately. Cruelty. Whatever gets me out fastest. We discussed assets. The house was in both names, purchased 4 years ago. She might claim emotional distress, Diana warned. Ask for more than half. We counter with her fraudulent behavior and planned departure. She outlined our strategy. Document everything. Establish timeline of lies. My family could testify to my desire for children and her resistance. The birth control evidence is critical, Diana noted. It proves intentional deception. Now, she might claim she needed it for endometriosis or PMDD. Those are legitimate medical uses for that medication. But the key is she was hiding it and simultaneously texting you about ovulation. That shows deceptive intent. Do you want to pursue emotional damages? She asked. I could sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Part of me wanted to, but another part just wanted out. I just want a clean break, I said. Fair division. I don't want to drag this out for revenge. Diana looked at me with respect. That's mature. But don't let her take advantage of your fairness. The retainer was $5,000. Total costs would probably run $10,000 to $15,000 depending on Paige's cooperation. I signed the paperwork. The divorce filing began. Expect her to fight, Diana warned as I left. People who lie this long don't surrender easily. I'm ready, I said. I went back to work on Tuesday. I needed normalcy, structure, something I could control. But Paige had other plans. That afternoon, she emailed my boss, claimed I was having a mental health crisis, asked him to check on me. He called me into his office, concern on his face. Paige reached out, he said carefully. Said you moved out suddenly. Are you okay? I kept my voice steady. We're separating. I'm fine. She's trying to manipulate the situation. He looked uncomfortable. Didn't want to be involved in my personal drama. I appreciate the concern, I said, but my personal life won't affect my work. I showed him my project timelines. Everything was on schedule. Okay, he said, relieved. Just wanted to make sure. Let me know if you need time off. I emailed Diana about Paige's interference immediately. Her response, document this. Possible harassment. We can file a restraining order if needed. Some coworkers had questions. I kept it vague. Going through a divorce, I'd prefer not to discuss it at work. Most people respected that. Gave me space. Thursday, March 27th, Diana called. Paige had hired representation. Her attorney was Lawrence Greenberg, known for aggressive tactics. Paige's response contested everything. She wanted 60% of assets, claimed she'd sacrificed career advancement for the marriage, which was absurd. She worked from home, made decent money as a consultant. She argued I'd caused her emotional trauma by my sudden abandonment. The reversal was stunning. She was playing victim, claiming I'd left without cause. Diana's counter-strategy relied on the birth control evidence and proof of her planned departure. We scheduled depositions for April 15th. Both parties had to give testimony under oath. The thought of facing Paige across a conference table made my stomach turn. But Diana prepared me. Multiple practice sessions. Anticipated every question. Paige's likely defense. Birth control was for medical reasons. She'd changed her mind about children. She never intended to leave. I'd overreacted. Diana's counter. Birth control hidden in car plus Amazon book order plus year-long prescription equaled premeditation. The discovery process began. Both sides had to exchange financial documents. I provided everything requested immediately. Paige kept asking for extensions. Stalling. She wasn't ready for this divorce despite planning to leave. She'd wanted to leave on her terms, her timeline. Now I'd taken that control away. April 15th arrived. The deposition. Conference room in a downtown law office. Court reporter present. Wesley, Diana on one side. Paige, Greenberg on the other. Paige wore professional clothes, minimal makeup. She looked exhausted. Older than her 31 years. We both swore to tell the truth. My deposition went first. Greenberg asked the questions, trying to paint me as controlling. When did you first suspect your wife didn't want children? When I found birth control pills hidden in her car. Did you pressure her about pregnancy? I expressed my desire for children. She claimed to share that desire. Isn't it true you gave her an ultimatum about adoption? I suggested adoption as an alternative. She refused. I respected her decision. How often did you initiate intimacy solely for reproductive purposes? She told me when she was ovulating. I responded to her invitations. He was trying to make me look obsessed, pushy. It wasn't working. Had you ever discussed using contraception during your marriage? Yes. We stopped using it in September 2022 when we decided to try for children. Or so I believed. So you assumed she stopped, but never verified? I trusted my wife. That trust was misplaced. Then it was Paige's turn. Diana's questions were methodical, building the timeline piece by piece. When did you start taking birth control pills? Long pause. I'm not sure exactly. The prescription and evidence was filled March 8, 2022, and shows 11 refills remaining. That's a year-long prescription. When did you start taking them? Maybe February? I don't remember. The court reporter noted her hesitation. Did you inform your husband you were taking them? No. Why did you hide them in your car? I didn't hide them. I just kept them there. Why not in your medicine cabinet at home? I don't know. Did you ever have infertility testing done? Longer pause. No. But you told your husband you did, correct? Yes. You told him you had diminished ovarian reserve and severe endometriosis. Were either of those diagnoses real? Tears started. No. When did you order the book, How to Leave Your Marriage Without Guilt? I don't remember. Diana slid a printout across the table. January 12th, 2022. Does this refresh your memory? Paige stared at the evidence. Couldn't deny it. Were you planning to leave your husband while letting him believe you were trying to have children? I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. But you knew you didn't want his children, correct? I wasn't ready. For 3 years? And you expressed this uncertainty to him when? Silence. She couldn't answer without admitting she never told me. Greenberg objected. She's badgering the witness. I'm establishing a timeline of intentional deception, Diana responded calmly. We took a 30-minute break. Paige and I went to separate rooms. When we resumed, Diana presented more evidence. Bank records showing Paige had withdrawn $6,000 cash from our joint savings in February. I hadn't known about that. What was this cash for, Mrs. Kohler? Personal expenses. Can you itemize these expenses? I don't remember. The implication was clear. She'd been building a secret cash reserve for her departure. By the end of the day, I was exhausted but vindicated. Her lies were on record now, under oath. Late April, Greenberg proposed a settlement to avoid trial. The offer, 50-50 asset split. Each keeps their own vehicle. House to be sold, proceeds divided. I found it fair. I agreed. But Paige wanted me to pay her legal fees. Diana's response was immediate. Absolutely not. She caused this situation. Our counteroffer. Each pays their own fees. Clean break. Paige resisted, dragged her feet. I told Diana to file a motion to compel, set a court date. The pressure worked. Paige realized a trial meant public testimony, everything on record for anyone to see. She signed on May 1st. The terms: house sells, proceeds split 50-50. Each keeps own retirement accounts. Each keeps own vehicle. Joint savings split evenly, minus the $6,000 Paige took. No spousal support either direction. Each pays own attorney fees. The house went on the market May 5th. Richmond's real estate market was strong. We got offers within a week. The sale closed June 15th. Paige and I attended different closings. I never saw her. My portion came to $67,000 after paying off the remaining mortgage and fees. The final hearing was June 30th. Richmond Circuit Court. The judge reviewed our settlement agreement, asked standard questions. Both parties agree to these terms? Yes, Your Honor, we answered in unison. No reconciliation is possible. No, Your Honor. You understand this dissolution is permanent? Yes, Your Honor. The gavel came down. Divorce granted. This marriage is dissolved effective today. 10 minutes to end a 5-year marriage. Outside on the courthouse steps, Diana congratulated me. It's over. You're free. Doesn't feel like freedom yet, I admitted. Just emptiness. That'll pass. Give it time. Paige left through a different exit, got in her car, drove away. I watched her disappear and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. The relief came slowly. It was really over. July brought changes. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment near downtown. Small, affordable, completely mine. I decorated minimally. Started over from scratch. New furniture, new routines. Work, gym, reading, weekly dinners with family. My brother suggested therapy. I started seeing Dr. Mitchell Barnes, a counselor who specialized in divorce recovery. The grief surprised me. Not for Paige, I didn't miss her, but for the life I'd thought I was building, the future I'd imagined. You're not mourning her, Dr. Barnes said during one session. You're mourning your trust in reality. He was right. I questioned everything now. Second-guessed my own perceptions. If I'd been so wrong about Paige, what else was I wrong about? The anger phase hit in August. Weeks of rage at the stolen time. 3 years I'd never get back. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard Paige had moved to North Carolina. The news brought relief. Geographic distance felt safer. In September, Dr. Barnes suggested a men's divorce support group. I resisted. I wasn't a group therapy person, but I went. Third Thursday of September, church basement, 8 men present. The facilitator was Jeff, 54, divorced 10 years ago, ran the group voluntarily. We went around introducing ourselves, sharing why we were there. When my turn came, I told an abbreviated version of my story. The response was immediate. Recognition, empathy, shared understanding. Others had similar stories. One man's wife had cheated with his business partner. Another's wife had drained their accounts and disappeared. Another discovered his daughter wasn't biologically his after 8 years. Betrayal. Lies. Stolen time. I wasn't alone. Others had survived worse. I went back the next month. Became a regular attendee. I particularly connected with one guy named Marcus. Similar age, similar betrayal. His wife had faked a pregnancy for 6 months, complete with fake ultrasound photos she'd found online. One day you'll realize you haven't thought about her in 24 hours, he told me. That's when you know you're healing. October brought an unexpected development. My sister set me up on a blind date. I'm not ready, I protested. Just coffee, 1 hour. You don't have to marry her. The woman's name was Simone. 31, elementary school teacher, also recently divorced. We met at a coffee shop on a Saturday afternoon. Low pressure. The conversation flowed easily. We were both rusty at this, admitted it freely. Simone's husband had left her for someone younger. Cliché but devastating. I told her an abbreviated version of my story. She was shocked and sympathetic. The chemistry was mild, friendly, not sparks but pleasant. We went to dinner the following weekend, still taking it slow. I'm not looking for anything serious, I told her honestly. Neither am I, she said. Just nice to spend time with someone decent. Third date was a movie and coffee. I kissed her goodnight. I felt something. Not love, but possibility. We moved very slowly, both protecting ourselves. Thanksgiving arrived. My parents hosted, whole family present. I brought Simone, her first family event with us. She fit in easily, no pressure, just warmth and acceptance. My father's tradition was going around the table sharing what we were grateful for. When my turn came, I said, I'm grateful for all of you, for supporting me through the hardest year of my life, for reminding me that family is what matters. I didn't say aloud what else I felt grateful for, finding the truth, even though it hurt. Being free of lies. After dinner, my mother pulled me aside. You look lighter, she observed. I feel lighter, like I'm not carrying lies anymore. Do you forgive her? She asked. I thought about it. I don't think about her enough to forgive or not forgive. She's just gone from my life. My mother smiled. That's healthier than forgiveness, actually. Later, playing board games with my nieces, Simone chatting with my sisters, I realized I was genuinely happy. A year ago, I'd been in despair, thinking I'd never be a father. Now I saw fatherhood was still possible, just differently. March 22nd, 2023 arrived, exactly 1 year since finding the pills. I woke in my apartment, made coffee, looked at the calendar, recognized the date. I sat with the memory briefly. It felt distant, like it had happened to someone else. So much had changed. I lived alone and enjoyed the solitude. I'd been dating Simone for 5 months, taking it slow, I'd gotten a promotion at work, was leading a major bridge project. I was closer with my family than ever. I was genuinely happy most days. I still grieved sometimes. Not Paige, but the 3 years. The time I'd never recover. But I was 34, still young enough for children if I wanted them. Simone had 2 kids from her previous marriage, 6 and 9. My relationship with them was growing slowly. They called me Mr. Wesley. The irony wasn't lost on me. I might become a father through step-parenting after all. We weren't rushing anything, taking it day by day. By March 2024, Simone and I decided to move in together. Her kids accepted me fully by then, called me Wes, trusted me. One evening, she asked if I regretted not having biological children. I regret the time I lost, I said honestly, but I don't regret where I ended up. It was true. I loved her kids, felt like their father in the ways that mattered. Then came the unexpected news. Simone was pregnant. We hadn't been trying, but we weren't preventing either. My reaction was complex. Joy, terror, overwhelming gratitude. A boy, due November 2024. Fatherhood was finally happening. At 35. On my terms. With someone honest. I saw an announcement on social media around that time. Paige had remarried in North Carolina. I felt nothing. Complete indifference. Didn't even mention it to Simone. The growth from betrayed husband to healed father-to-be felt miraculous. One Saturday in October, I was coaching youth soccer. Simone's kids were on my team. She watched from the stands, visibly pregnant now. I smiled at her. The smile was genuine, unforced, content. I realized something profound in that moment. Sometimes losing what you thought you wanted makes room for what you actually need. Paige didn't just steal 3 years. She taught me what betrayal looks like. Now I knew what trust looked like too. And this life I was building with Simone and the kids, was worth everything I'd survived. The pills in the glove box had destroyed my marriage, but they'd also freed me. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it also heals. I was proof of that.